Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really frustrating, repetitive cycle. You know the one. It's when you do absolutely everything right in a relationship, only to end up relegated to the role of the safe, reliable friend. We're going to break down the psychology behind exactly why this happens. And spoiler alert, it is absolutely not a reflection of your worth. It's actually a fascinating dynamic between safety and desire. Let's get into it.
You're going to make someone so happy one day. I just don't want to ruin our friendship. Wow. If you're the person everyone texts for advice at 2 a.m. when their lives are falling apart, you have undoubtedly heard those agonizing words from someone you deeply, deeply wanted. It stings, right? But if this keeps happening to you over and over, I need you to hear this. It is not random.
We need to immediately dismantle some of the biggest myths out there. You are not unattractive. And you are definitely not too nice. You aren't lacking some magical quality that everyone else just seems to have. The confusion you're feeling is entirely valid, because by all traditional measures, you're doing everything right. You're showing up, you're present, and you're being exactly what people say they want. But then, the paradox hits. You show up perfectly, and yet, you have to sit back and watch them choose someone completely inconsistent, someone who brings them chaos and confusion instead of clarity. When you see that happen, it is completely natural to look at the dynamic and ask yourself, what am I missing? Why does being good, steady, and reliable lead me to a dead end while pure chaos seems to win?
Section 1. Intimacy versus passion. To crack this case, we have to look at the profound psychological difference between someone feeling safe with you and someone feeling actual romantic desire for you.
Psychologist Robert Sternberg's research gives us a really perfect framework to understand why your connections always seem to take the exact same shape early on. He identified 3 core components of love: intimacy, passion, and commitment. But to really understand the friend zone, we need to focus heavily on the tension between those first 2.
Just think about the sheer contrast here. Friendship is built almost entirely on the stable safety of intimacy. It's grounded, it's emotional support, it's safe. But romantic attraction? That is a completely different beast. Passion actually requires activation. It needs a pull, it needs tension, and yeah, it even needs a little bit of uncertainty. If a connection is built entirely on safety and the other person never feels even a little bit off balance, well, desire simply doesn't know where to enter the room.
Which leads us to Section 2, the safety trap. This brings up a really difficult but illuminating truth about how human connection works. Safety and desire, they often require entirely different conditions to grow. One of the biggest culprits here is pacing. Think about how desire actually works. It needs room to breathe. When you give all of your availability and all of your emotional investment right up front, you overfill the jar. You leave absolutely no empty space or gaps for the other person's mind to drift, to wonder about you, and to develop actual longing. You provide incredible closeness, sure, but you completely bypass the longing.
Look at how tension gets softened when we want to keep things safe. Because romantic tension feels incredibly risky to you, you probably smooth out all the edges. You avoid teasing them because, hey, it might land wrong. You avoid challenging them because you don't want to push them away. And you definitely avoid any awkward confessions because rejection is just unbearable. So you keep things comfortable, warm, and entirely easy. But here's the kicker. Healthy friction is exactly where the romantic spark lives. By removing it, you're flattening the connection.
Let's dig even deeper into the root cause. In Section 3, fear of true vulnerability. Sometimes, playing the role of the ultimate friend is actually a carefully constructed defense mechanism.
You might be building connections by constantly caretaking and giving endlessly, because stepping into the asking column feels like a terrifying risk. Think about it. Actually expressing what you want and exposing your true romantic desire opens you up to rejection. Flirting is a form of exposure. So instead of risking that closeness, you just hide out in the giving column, earning closeness through endless utility.
So where does this come from? It's really vital to recognize that this isn't a flaw in your character. It's a learned pattern. Maybe you learned early on that your value only came from what you could provide for others. Maybe you were taught that having your own needs made you a burden, or you just assumed people would only stick around as long as you were useful to them. Somewhere along the way, being needed became a much safer, highly controlled substitute for being wanted.
And that brings us to Section 4, breaking the predictable cycle. The most painful aspect of this entire dynamic is the realization that it's never just a one-time event. It is a predictable, vicious cycle that continuously reinforces your deepest insecurities.
Watch how this builds time and time again. Phase 1. Closeness quickly builds. You become the perfect confidant. Phase 2. A secret hope begins to grow in the background. Then Phase 3. The inevitable, gentle conversation where they tell you how much you mean to them as a friend. And finally, Phase 4. The cruelest part of all. You are left quietly grieving a relationship that never officially existed, holding on to feelings you were never invited to have.
Because the cycle is so painful, eventually a self-fulfilling prophecy takes over. You literally stop trusting your own hope entirely. You walk into new connections already bracing for the friend zone before you even arrive. This makes you even more cautious and even more careful not to show desire, which effectively guarantees that you end up exactly where you expected to be.
Trust is earned through consistency. Desire is sparked through honesty. Being the person others feel safe with is a beautiful, rare trait. But you must remember that safety alone does not ignite desire. You've already mastered consistency. Now it's time to master the honesty of your own desires. What's ultimately missing here isn't some brand new dating strategy you have to memorize. It's simply the courage to stop waiting around to be chosen. The people most capable of deep love are often the ones who have been hiding it the longest, just waiting in the wings to be picked, when they could have boldly stepped out and been doing the choosing all along. The next time you find yourself slipping right back into that comfortable caretaker role, I want you to ask yourself this provocative question. What if the pattern isn't about you being not enough? What if it's simply about you hiding the part of you that actively wants? Think about what might actually happen if you stepped out from behind the shield of safety and risked true vulnerability. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep growing, and I'll catch you next time.